welcome to Pub Football with Miles and Jimmy as we look ahead to tomorrow night's final group game in Euro 2020/Euro 2021 between England and the Czech Republic. First thing to say, actually, is that there are some doubts around Ben Chilwell and Mason Mount. The England press conference is ongoing as we record this, but what Gareth Southgate has said is that they're still going to be doing some investigations as to whether they can play or not. The reason they might be out is because of close contact they had during the game. I'm guessing maybe after the game with Billy Gilmour because they will play for Chelsea. They must have, I don't know if they were hugging or something along those lines, but that's the only way I could think there'd be any difference to them having close contact with, as opposed to Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice and other players on the pitch. But Billy Gilmour's tested positive for COVID-19, unfortunately, which sucks for him because I actually think he's Scotland's best player and is a big loss for them tomorrow. But it means that we could be without Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell. Both of them would be starting in my match day lineup. So I'm going to assume they're playing, but I'll give some alternatives when we go through lineups for tomorrow. First thing I want to ask you, actually, Jimmy, today. Do you want to win the group?
No, I don't. Because firstly, it means we're playing on Monday night, and no one wants that. And secondly, well, it gives us probably an easier route to potentially go further in the competition, doesn't it? So potentially a disappointing defeat isn't a bad thing, is it? Or
a draw, because we're below Czech Republic. I want to win the group. I don't mind about playing Monday night. I want to win the group because I want to play at Wembley. And to be honest, neither Portugal or Germany, who it's likely to be, or could be Hungary still as well, but neither of them really scare me too much. And I could those words could come back to haunt me, but I don't know. France are one of the better teams, but even they haven't been superb. We're going to have to beat them eventually. We might as well get them out of the way early, is my opinion. And if we go the other way, we could be playing Spain, who, although have looked pretty rubbish, are still Spain. So either way, it could be bad. So I'd rather win the group, take the confidence, and play at Wembley.
Also, I'd just like to win the game. I'd like to play well. I'd like to show something that we haven't seen in the first two games, really. So, getting 7 points isn't a bad thing, is it?
But what are you saying? Win the group or don't win the group?
I'd just win the game, win the group, brilliant.
Win the group. There we go, good. We got it out of him in the end. It took him, 30 seconds to change his mind as to whether he wanted to win the group or not, but we've got a definitive answer. Win the group, win the game, win the group. We need a massive improvement. That's straight away, because as we said yesterday, the Scotland game was pants. It was terrible, really, really bad. Do you think that the 2 days will have been enough for Southgate to turn it round?
Well, I've seen a lot from the squad that have come out in the press saying, don't panic, we've still got 4 points, it's still a decent start. The problem is the performance was pretty poor. So we need a massive, massive improvement moving forward. There's going to be changes. It'll be interesting to see who comes in. I think Mason Mount not potentially being in the game could leave Jack Grealish a chance to come in and maybe make a difference. But yeah, I'm expecting changes. I'm expecting a better performance as well.
Do you think he will go for big changes or not? Because I think a lot of people in the press and a lot of people assume that he'll go for big changes. Or is it going to be a case of Southgate going, no, we need to nail our starting team for the last 16 now, so we're going to have to play the best players available, because there has already been some rotation?
It'll be typical Southgate to make about 3 changes. As I mentioned on the previous video, that I would change the entire system. And I want to see us do something completely different, give it a go, and just kind of free up some of this real quality we have going forward, which has been really, really poor so far. But for me, he's going to make 3 changes. It's going to be really obvious, and we're going to stumble to a 1-0 win.
Right, okay, let's start with what 3 changes you think he's going to make. Who do you think he'll change?
Well, Mount won't be playing, so I think Grealish will come in there. I think they're probably going to change fullbacks. I've got a feeling Kyle Walker will come back in. Would you change Shaw? Maybe.
I think you might not be able to now. Chilwell might be out.
True. So I don't think there's going to be much more. Obviously, I'd like to change the midfield too. I'm not too happy with what we've got going on so far. Maybe a Bellingham, maybe a Henderson. But for me, those might be the 3 changes.
Do you think he'll bring Maguire in as well?
Should do. I think he needs game time.
He has to. If he's going to play this tournament, he has to play this game. That's my opinion. or else you can't risk starting him in the round of 16 if we're playing Germany.
No, and by all accounts, he is fit. He's raring to go. Why not put him in instead of maybe Mings, Stones? Just give him game time.
A lot of calls to rest Harry Kane. I don't think Southgate's pretty much said that he'll be starting, and two, you don't rest him as far as I'm concerned, because you said it yesterday. I said he had a really poor game, which I will stand by. He was terrible, but you said it wasn't necessarily his fault, and I do agree with that to a point as well, because there's only so much he can do. If you want your centre forward to be getting on the end of things, when nothing's coming in, there's nothing to get on the end of. There's not a lot he can really do.
Well, we've seen it with Lewandowski as well, who literally is carrying Poland. If the service isn't there, he's not involved. And it's the same with Kane. If we don't give him the service, don't get him involved, he's going to look pretty poor. And hopefully in the next game, we get the ball to him, we get him in the right areas, and he takes a chance and he cracks on with the tournament and gets us moving forward.
I want to see more crosses go into the box. That's one, and I know it's a sort of an old school approach, but they don't even have to be long, deep crosses. Just getting to the byline. We didn't get to the byline, and that's one of the big factors for me. And that's where you think a change of system will help. I wouldn't change the system. Well, I guess I'd tweak the system by changing the different midfielders, but I wouldn't change the system. I like a 4 at the back. I'm not a massive fan of a 3 with wing backs, just because I think it can work, but having watched the way that England have played in the past with Southgate, those wing backs effectively make a back 5, and it doesn't offer enough going forward anyway. So let's go through how we would play. You've said you'd go for a 3-4-3.
I would, yeah. I think we need to get higher up the pitch.
Who are you playing then? Pickford in goal.
So Pickford, pretty much picks himself. I would have Kyle Walker on the right hand side. I would have Maguire. Never free. I would have Maguire and Stones.
Right.
Then I'd actually have Bukayo Saka on the left hand side and have Reece James on the right.
Right. Well, stop you there. Just because I'll do my back 4 now, and then we can discuss. So my back 4 actually, and I would be changing. I was actually going to pick Ben Chilwell at left back, give him a chance because he's very attacking, and that's what we were lacking. I feel like he would have been a bit braver than Luke Shaw against Scotland. But if he's not available, I'm playing Shaw straight away. I think we need a left-foot left back, not Trippier. But I would be playing Trippier at right back. I'd put him back in. It's a big call because Kyle Walker and Reece James are both very good, but we struggled from set pieces. I still think he's a good right back. He doesn't get enough credit. And as an attacking fullback, he's played as a wing back. He does get round and his final ball is better than what we've seen so far. So I think he'd create a little bit more for us from right back. And then I'd play Stones and Maguire in at centre half. Explain yourself with your wing backs and to choose Kyle Walker in the back 3, not to stick with Tyrone Mings.
Oh, don't get me wrong. He's not going to play the system I'm saying at all. He's never going to do this.
But explain why. That's what.
Because I think we need more. We need width. We need crosses going into the box. We need players higher up the pitch, and this is the problem. And I think Kyle Walker can step over to the right hand side and cover that area if Reece James is flying up the wing and trying to get crosses in. And the problem is we're not getting enough players around Harry Kane, and this is really frustrating. And I'd scrap Sterling. We'll come on to this later, and I'll go for more creative players and just get us up the pitch.
And Saka at left back is a big call. Where I know you're an Arsenal fan, so there's going to be a soft spot there. But in my head, your logic is that because he's started off as a winger, he's going to. And the way he plays a bit brave as you go past a player, which is why I picked Chilwell as a left back in the back 4. Is that the only reason, or is it just?
No, I think he's good going both ways. He's proved it at Arsenal. He can play at left back, but he's also very, very effective going the other way. And obviously in that friendly up in Middlesbrough, he played really well. And I think he's probably deserving half a chance if we were playing that system.
Fair enough. Right, in the midfield, I'm sticking with a 3. You are going for
2.
Who do you pick?
I would pick Rice and Bellingham.
Yep, I'd be Rice, Bellingham, and Mount would be my 3. And if Mount isn't available, I was actually going to give Foden a rest. And this isn't necessarily to drop Foden for the games going forward. He's just, Wayne Rooney's been giving him a bit of stick, which I think has been a little bit unfair. I understand that he's played in a system for his entire career under Guardiola, but it's also the best system in England. So it's hard to begrudge him that. I was going to give him a rest, so I was going to be playing Mount in with the other two. But if Mount's not there, I would bring Foden into that mix.
Yeah, I agree. I think Foden's actually had a very good couple of games so far. He's probably been one of the shining lights, as well as Mount. The only people who look lively, look like they're going to do something. And as you say, give him a rest, get him fresh for the last 16 game. It makes sense.
Yeah, Bellingham. Both of us picking Bellingham. I just think he offers something different. Everyone who says that Jude Bellingham isn't old enough, he isn't experienced enough, you wouldn't risk him. Wrong, stupid. Have you not watched the kid play? Every time he's played, he's stepped up. There hasn't been a level he's played in a Champions League quarter-final against Manchester City, or was it the round of 16, whatever it was, against Manchester City, and he played very, very, very well. This is not a kid who's scared of the big occasion. You would never have said that about Wayne Rooney in the 2004 Euros. He has to play almost every minute of every game. Get Bellingham in there, give him a chance, because he's not an attacking midfielder, but he's not a holding midfielder. He's a bit more old school, that box-to-box mould. And that's what England have been seriously lacking. Phillips has been trying to do it, but he's just not as good.
Yeah, agreed. As you say, he's had a cracking season. He can do both parts, can't he? I've got a feeling there will be a clamour for Henderson potentially playing. I don't want to see Henderson in the England squad, unfortunately. England side, sorry. Especially when Bellingham can get up and down. So I'd play Bellingham.
More of the same with Phillips, really. That's my one issue, and it's we need more bravery in there, especially against Czech Republic. I mean, I would understand against a bigger side when you're playing Germany. Maybe you wouldn't, but I'd still be tempted to anyway. But I just think stick Bellingham in there. Both of us think Declan Rice because he's key. He's absolutely key to this England side.
It's a good game to blood him in as well, because we're basically through anyway. Just give him a game. Like, I think, why don't we go and show sides what we can actually do going forward? Just give some of the kids a game and see what happens. 4
points should be enough. That's the thing. 4 points should be enough to go through even in third if it really went madly wrong. Right, so that's our midfield three. I've gone for a front three. We both gone for front threes, actually. Do you want me to give you mine first? Because I think yours might be the same.
Yeah, go on.
Actually, no, I think you're sticking Foden in. I was going to go Grealish on the left. I was going to have Harry Kane up front. I was going to start Jadon Sancho.
So I was going to do exactly the same. As you mentioned with Foden, I think he needs a rest, and there's been a lot of clamour for Sancho, and to be fair, his stats for the year prove that he's a very, very good footballer, and he should be starting. And I want to see him give it a go.
Well, the thing is, I think he could start. We could see him get 2 assists and a goal. And then what do? You have to play it.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got a feeling he's got the edge on Sterling, to be honest. I know Sterling scored in the first game. Fair play to him. He didn't do anything in the second game.
No. And I think in the third game either, though. I know that he got a much better match rating in all the papers than I thought he was going to, because I felt he was quite wasteful.
Yeah, well, he's always been wasteful, hasn't he? He always misses clear-cut chances. He always miscontrols. There was a point in the second game where it just went out for a goal kick where he should have controlled it. And I do like Sancho. His technique is very good. He's a very, very good footballer, and I want to see him given a chance.
I generally really like Raheem Sterling, though. I just think he's just hit a bad patch form. Normally, I would be saying start him every game, but I really like Grealish, and the way that he runs with the ball and takes players on is exactly what we need. I know against Scotland, it came into a difficult game for him to start to do that because of Scotland was settled in the game and so organised. But Sancho also, to add something completely different, is a right-footed player playing on the right-hand side. And again, I think that will aid the distribution into Harry Kane because he can get the ball in.
And he's got a bit of pace as well, which is good. So, there's a lot going for him, and it's about time he comes in. I know he's been on the sidelines for a couple of games, but I really hope he plays well if he does come in.
Player that neither of us have mentioned, and I think it's worth mentioning because I actually wouldn't be surprised if he does start, is Marcus Rashford.
No, I'm sorry. No. He might do as well. This is the problem. He might go for players, him, Henderson. We're going to go for players who shouldn't be anywhere near that starting 11 in my eyes. And if he does that, it'll be really, really disappointing.
Well, there's a lot of people who think Rashford should be in it. I think Gary Neville picked him in his Premier League team of the season for off-the-field stuff, which made no sense to me. And don't get me wrong, I am 100% on board with what Marcus Rashford does off the field. I think he's an incredible guy. But this is a tournament for England that I want England to win. And unfortunately, he's never fulfilled the potential. He doesn't even look like fulfilling the potential for me. He's a player. Again, you talk about Sterling being wasteful. He does exactly the same thing. And he's less clinical than Sterling. His numbers aren't generally as good as Raheem Sterling's. And Yeah, I think that these younger players who are more creative and better should be playing ahead of him. And it might be a controversial call, but we both agree.
Yeah, he's out of form. He's been out of form for a long, long time. And even in the game he played and scored a penalty, he didn't do anything. And he hasn't done anything for a while for England. And I wouldn't pick him.
Yeah, and you think back to performance in the Europa League final against Villarreal, he was terrible, absolutely dreadful. And he's a player who, for some reason, actually, I can tell you exactly why, because he burst onto the scene. He had a good first 5 or 6 games for Man United where he scored a bucket load of goals, got into that England squad for Euro 2016, scored on his England debut against Australia, and this big hype train started. When you actually look at the numbers, he has only scored more than 11 goals once in the Premier League, and that's in 6 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, you do think he's a little bit overrated at times, don't you? And yeah, for me, he doesn't warrant a starting place. He's a good impact sub, but again, he didn't prove against Scotland. He didn't do anything.
Didn't come on. Not up front. He's not a number 9. He has to play off the only place he can play is off the left. He shouldn't be playing number 9. For Man United, he's never as good as a number 9. So
for all we know, he'll start and score 2 goals. So it'll be classic. But yeah,
wouldn't surprise me. It could happen, and then he'd be in the side. It's crazy. Anyway, that's who we'd start. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Southgate does do tomorrow. I'm hoping that Mount and Chilwell are both available. I'd be starting them both, but Foden and Shaw aren't exactly bad replacements to put in for them. Score prediction.
I'm going 2-0. I think we'll play a lot better tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 as well. Honestly, it's a game that we could win 4 or 5-0 if they give some of these players a chance and really step up. Anyway, 2 things left to say, which we're ending these shows with during the Euros. First one is, come on, England. And the second one is, cheers.
Cheers.